For myself, I'm also the vice chair of IOC subcommission, and I'm also a co-chair of Ocean Coast and Island Task of AOGEO. And I'll talk about AOGEO later. I'll talk from the perspective of WESTPAC and AOGEO in terms of dealing with data. These AOGEO and WESTPAC is a completely different institution, but IODE has a lot of maritime data, and I think there is a lot of possibility there. First of all, I would like to talk about IOD. IOD and WESTPAC is very much related. So IOD is very looking at responsible for the Indian Ocean to Western Pacific Ocean, and there are 22 member states, and up until now there were 11 intergovernmental sessions and 9 social symposiums. And actually, there are 4 priority research areas, and they are ocean process climate and marine biodiversity and seafood security, ocean ecosystem health, and also emergency issues. These are the priority areas. And against this, there are major actions against it. So science policy interface be strengthened, and also develop sustained ocean observations and services for marine safety and safeguarding marine diversity and ecosystem health. And for WESTPAC structure, you can see at the very top this WESTPAC session. This is an intergovernmental session held biannually, and actually there's 4 big functions. First of all is ocean observations and service, and marine science and applications, and capacity development, and working groups. As you can see, for ocean observation services, actually they're looking at many of the phenomena in many parts of the areas around the globe, and for training to the younger generation, and also awarding or recognizing the younger generation, and RTRC, which is the regional training center. Actually, we have 2 of them, centers, mainly for marine climate change and for biodiversity. And I've heard there's going to be more centers being established in it. And especially concerning IOD, this red letter area is going to be very much concerned. So goose and near goose is very much related in here. So observation data will be in here. And besides that, there is also the marine surface layer targeted research, and looking at also ocean observation about regional goose activities. So this near goose, this is the ocean observations data being exchanged. So ultimately, what we would like to do is develop a ocean forecasting system. So in Japan, we are observing in the EEZ areas, mainly in cooperation with Russian. And for sea goose, actually the area targeted does not have much of ocean observations. So what we're trying to do is make projects in order to gather these some observation data. And recently, near goose as well as sea goose, the ocean forecasting system is being displayed on a real-time basis, and also acidification on coral reef ecosystems. Such kind of pilot projects are taking place. And WESTPAC, once every 3 years, there's a scientific conference. And last time in 2017 in Qingdao, China, the conference was held, and there were a lot of experts gathered at this occasion. And IOCD experts, some people that may be here, They had a session, and we had a good discussion. And thank you very much for your kind cooperation during that occasion. And I'm sorry we don't have much time, but the WESTPAC's comments towards IOD. So IOD, the data is very much limited. So in the WESTPAC region, we have to look into this area. So IOD, in order to, we would like IOD to come in and cooperate us so that we could get more data. But on WESTPAC side, we're kind of concerned that this data is not being shared very much. Of course, there is the against this background, securities is such kind of an issue. And also, there are cases that the data are compiled individually amongst different institutions. So data management and capacity development, IOD, we believe, is going to be a key factor in order to promote that. And we have high expectations from WESTPAC side. And then talking about AOGEO. AOGEO, so basically, it is using the satellite data, but it is also using in-situ data. So actually, we don't have data of ourselves, but what we would do is we would be gathering data that other institution has gathered so that it can be utilized fully. So it is to make the infrastructure of providing these data. So even in Japan or in China, there are gaps, but basically it's the same idea. So in GEO, we're discussing what are the data that should be provided to GEO. And that is the main activities for AOGEO. And AOGEO, the org chart is here. Very similar to WESTPAC. Instead of project, it's called task. It looks into carbon and food and ocean and biodiversity issues. And also there are other tasks. But basically, it used to, Japan and Australia used to have two tasks. But a year ago, we have actually integrated this. And the task right now is run under Ocean Coast and Island Task. And actually, in October last year in Kyoto, we had a working group with three intentions. And then IODE, for IOD, what may be related to IOD is this red part here. So it's about APONS. APONS stands for Asia Pacific Oceania Data Network System. And data, it's not the data itself, but it's the data inventory and how can you accumulate it and expand that was the discussion. And the data system that we have right now is very primitive. On the very left, there's the Jamstack, which has the APOS server, and many institutions would be accessing data of University A or B through the database accumulated in Jamstack. This is a very simplified institution, but China and Korea can be accessed through our web. And each nation, including Southeast Asian countries, each country's database, actually, we found out it has a very advanced system already. So we're discussing of changing our system. And any person from any country should be able to access any kind of data, whether it's in Japan or in South Korea. We already have a advanced infrastructure, but in Asian marine data, it's not really that much advanced right now. And so this networking is going to be made mainly next next year, that is going to be our activity. And then the very last slide that I have. So how can we collaborate with IOD from AOG's perspective? So the three items here at the top is very similar to what is with WESTPAC. So number 4 and 5 is important. So in IOD, I've heard all this is being developed, and I think we have a similar idea here. But this is an area where we can share our information and collaborate. And then number 5, if a better understanding could be attained for AOGEO. So then IOD and WESTPAC may have a more efficient activity, like SDG 14, IOD, Life and Water. It's supposed to be IOC taking the initiative. GEO needs to contribute because of the data that is available. But any goals to be achieved, but besides SDG, GEO can be also contributed. And of course, UN network is the basis, but GEO can also contribute. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Sorry again for the